Let's get George on. How are we doing, George? Thanks for calling in.
No worries. You can hear me all good, yeah?
Yeah, can hear you loud and clear. It's been a hard day for Tottenham fans to take, a hard result, especially after it looked like we turned a corner after beating City and Villa, and maybe we were, going to go start on a bit of a run. But Ipswich at home, winless in the league, and Dr. Tottenham sees another patient. So, what is your thoughts about today's defeat?
Um, I've got I've got 5 points, five for the first half and five for the second half, so 10 in total. I just want to go through them. I kind of want to see what you guys think as well, because I don't know if you're aware, I called up midweek with the guys, and obviously Brian was sort of
Mm,
mainly in it. Sort of picked his brains a little bit, so see what you guys think. So in the first half, I've got Bentancur absolutely awesome filling in at the back. Now I wrote that after 10 minutes,
hmm
just to put that out there. Son and Bren non-existent, struggle against wider set teams with distribution in the build-up. Now I think and the last guy hit it nail on the head with the creativity in midfield. Today, I think we should have had Kulu and Madders on as well, just for that added creativity. I find Pape's good, but he's sort of more good at retaining the possession and looking for longer
Mm,
balls, where I feel like Kulu and Madders are better with the short, sharp, quicker passing, so they can
hmm
pass through the team. And I think
agreed.
that kind of like was compounded in midweek as well. Obviously, everyone complaining that Sonny and was it Bren as well got taken off
hmm
midweek. That was the same problem. But today we had better players on the pitch, so it shouldn't have
Yeah.
been a problem in my opinion. Ultimately, Ipswich wanted it more. We weren't settled. We just never looked settled at all in the whole game. Kulu and Solanke were trying their hardest, just couldn't get free, couldn't get any space or time on the ball. And something something one of you guys mentioned just before I came on about Radu being not as good as Eric Dyer. Was that you, Bunny?
Yeah, it
hmm
was. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, in my opinion, I think I know it's all well and good saying we need to give him time, but the reason I'm saying that is because I feel like he just hasn't got a centre back partnership built yet. He hasn't built that dynamic relationship with someone other than Ben Davis, and we're not going to go and play him and Ben Davis at centre back in a game like this. So I think with him, he needs more time. Yes, he's young. We just keep going. If he's still the same after this season, there's no improvement, then I think we can start sort of demanding more from him. But that's what I've got for the first half. What you guys thoughts on that before we move on?
I think that's all pretty valid. I think we definitely. I think your point about we struggle against wider set teams. I think that's becoming evident. I think especially teams who play wing backs, we really struggle with that because I think when teams play wing backs, I think that our fullbacks don't know who to go with a lot of the time. And if our fullbacks go with the wing back, then all of a sudden they've got an inside forward there ready and waiting to take up that space. But if our players go with the inside forward, that wing back has all that space because our wingers aren't the best at tracking back all the time. And it's a lot of space for our wingers to cover. We like our wingers staying high and wide. We don't want our wingers pegged back by wing backs the whole game. That's
Yeah,
not how we design our game. It's one thing pinning back fullbacks due to that, but if you're pinning back wingers, all of a sudden, Solanke's going to be very isolated. So I think we've got a big problem when it comes to wing backs, and Ange hasn't sorted it out yet. So I think that's a very valid point. Bentancur, I think, had a very mixed game. He did some really great stuff, and obviously he scored a goal. But then I thought, was it for
I will give you that.
was it for the
did
second
work
goal?
hard.
Was it for the second goal? He put in that challenge and was able to be bypassed.
He shouldn't have dived in the centre midfield. And that's something that we've suffered from a few times this season. Madders definitely did it away at Newcastle, didn't he, for their winner? I said it just before half time, mate. I was like, we've got to be careful not to concede a second here. And we did. And that's the difference
That
in
was
the
the killer
Villa
probably,
game
yeah.
and this game, because then they had really something properly to hang on to, and that's why they went kind of long ball second half. What are your points for the second half, mate?
Um, I'll come on to those in a second. One last thing, just off the back of that bit. I think that's the same problem we've got at the back as well. If you notice, we try and force other teams to go wide, but when they're counter-attacking teams and they've got someone who's fast who can just pile in pressure into the box, it doesn't work so well. Anyway, second half, fast start, good goal. Please stop short fucking corners. Pardon the French. That's
Well,
what
I
I've
think
written down for that.
you think short corners is a problem.
I disagree with that.
I think in our first 2 proper corners, we scored 2 goals, 1 disallowed, 1 went in. That's what I think. Like it's
Okay.
not so much problem from short corners. It's more that if you've got the ball and you can put it in the box, and we're losing 2-0 down, put it in the box. Like we clearly
Okay.
I
can't
think
pass it in.
I
We
would
try.
I just in general would like us to improve our crossing. I know what you mean about the goals. I suppose one of those was from an outswinger, and then we continued to not do outswingers after that, and just plonk balls into the keeper's arms time and time again. It really frustrated me, but. I think sometimes we do cause lots of danger. We do cause lots of danger from short corners, but maybe you're right. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's just that's come from like even my dad hates short corners, but it's probably like ingrained into me that one. But yeah, for that I just got good goal. Please stop short corners. 2 goals from 2 proper corners. 1 offside, 1 disallowed. 1 offside, which was disallowed, obviously. Handball, sorry. Werner was absolutely on fire. I think the scariest part of today is the fact that Werner was the only lone player on the pitch, and he was the only player who looked like he actually wanted a result out of today and looked like he wouldn't give up. All the others just let their heads drop at one point or another. And this is where it starts getting a bit more negative, static and lazy, no urgency yet again. And as you've said, Dr. Tottenham never capitalise on teams around us losing when we could capitalise quite easily, and we decide that we want to hand people like Ipswich a nice easy win.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these Son. Oh, we need to sell him. We need to do this. We need to do that. That's not me. However, I do think he needs to be more vocal. He is the club captain now, and he needs to put his foot down. I get in training he probably does that, but we don't always see that. We need to see it as fans, seeing it on the pitch. Just his work rate is good. I can't knock anything about him apart from finishing today, but just communication. I just want to see him lift everyone's head around him.
What do you think of the decision to play him in number 10 or a striker for the last 20 minutes or so?
I think personally that was a forced move based on how the game was going. Obviously, I don't think he's as good in the middle, but with the way it panned out, obviously, and the injuries we've got on left wing, and if Solanke needs to come off, for example, who's going to go into the middle? Well, at the minute, it has to be Son. Yeah, Richie's injured. Like we've got no one else.
Lancashire got a goal in midweek.
Would you put him on after getting sent off midweek? Would you put him on when we're 2-0 down at home? But
he also got a goal. He also got a goal though.
I get that, but midweek, a lot of people were saying, who was it? Especially Johnny was saying, well, isn't like performances like this going to knock Bergval's confidence? And I would have said the same thing today if he'd come on, if Lancashire had come on and he hadn't had a good game. I think that would have knocked his confidence just too much. Midweek, it was all right. We weren't going in it necessarily as we have to win. Every league match, we should go into it saying we have to win this, in my opinion.
I think, I mean, for me, a bigger worry than kind of almost like Son specifically is just that, you know, I said this to Sim earlier, like so many fans complain because Ange just says, no, this is the way we play, we don't have a plan B. But actually every time that he does try and change something formation-wise, tactically, to try and get back in a game, he seems to make things worse. And that is a bigger problem for me. And for me, I was just so frustrated at watching Son in positions where he was never going to affect the game. He was coming short. He was in his own half. I'm talking specifically about the last kind of 20 minutes or 25 minutes of the game. And I think that is what Son's leadership is he thinks sometimes, oh, I better do this all by myself. But he's not that kind of player.
Too much on his own.
Yeah, he's not that kind of player. And actually, the best leadership he could give us, because he's not a shouter and screamer, is to be like, actually, I want to stay high and wide where I can do the most damage. And it's maddening to me that the best chance we created all game, I guess, apart from the goal, was that cross from Son in like the second minute that Johnson put wide, and then we didn't put another cross like that in at all, apart from, I guess, Werner got in behind a couple of times, put a couple of those in. But Sonny should have been repeating that over and over again. Like, they couldn't defend it.
Yeah, he's our best crosser of the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's really what frustrated me about Ange, and that's where I think it feels a bit to me with Ange when he does those things, like maybe he's listening to the fans too much, actually, or, you know, it's like playing Football Manager or something where you're like, oh, I better go gung-ho and stick 5 men across the front line. It's like, it doesn't work like that. You've actually almost got to be more patient, stretch the play even more, and then allow momentum. If you get that first goal, allow momentum to then, knock the other team's confidence, take you forward, and do what we did last year against Sheffield United. But it just never looked like it was going to happen. And like I said before, they were just far superior to us, certainly in terms of game management.
That's for sure.
Yeah. I'd agree
George,
with that.
did you have any other points?
Yeah, only one last one was just, I really still, I'll echo what I said on Thursday. I think it's too early to be saying Ange out. I think we need to build. Obviously, being Spurs fans, it's very easy to be negative and to just focus on the shit and the bad. But we're in probably the best position we've been in since Poch. And if managers like Mourinho and Conte come in and can't do it and say that there's a problem with the club and the ownership and stuff like that, they're pretty experienced figures to be listening to. And then your club captain comes out and says the same sort of thing. And I think we need to take a sit back and then realise Ange isn't the problem.
All right, fair enough, George.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, George. Great to speak to you, mate.
Cheers for calling in, mate. Great call.
Have a good one, guys.